When the conversation then comes about, yeah, we're going to go and win a world title again, what is that conversation genuinely like? Because the rest of the world are like, oh, bloody hell, I don't know, man.
I don't like the whole, they've rejuvenated AJ. Me and Leigh, we don't like that, because it's not the case at all.
In the moment, it's the right thing to do, you call it. In the aftermath, you get criticised for that action.
There is still a chance, the guy's a dangerous puncher, there is still a chance that that shot lands again. There's a chance of that, this is boxing.
Do you like that? Do you like taking on fellas that maybe other people are saying, oh, I don't know if they can do X, Y, and Z anymore?
I'll tell you what the thing is with him. I've never had this conversation with him, but
welcome to another episode of Full Circle from Bet365. I'm Adam Catterall. Pleasure to be in your company, as you can see. I'm alongside the greatest hair in boxing, the king of Harlow himself, the one, the only, Mr. Ben Davison.
some intro.
Hey, we don't mess about on this show, Sunshine. We take it to the next level. How are you? You good?
Yeah, good, thanks mate, you?
Yeah, very well indeed. With this show, we talk about you, the subject, delve into your past, talk about big achievements, things that you want to achieve, things going forward, and pick your brains as well, because you are one of the best brains in the world of boxing. So I want to get your opinion.
Nice.
I want to get your opinion on a few things that are coming up in the not too distant future. But curveball, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Bet you didn't expect this question when we started today. I want to talk about football, if I can. That's where I want to start, because I know that you've got a football background. Obviously, you boxed as a youngster. I know that you've got family background in boxing. We'll come back to that in a minute. Stevenage, talk to me about that experience of, was there hopes, dreams and aspirations as a kid to be a pro footballer at any point?
Yeah, definitely, like, not in a bad way, but my dad was quite a pushy parent to a degree, not in a sense of like forcing me to do something I didn't want to do, but if I was going to do it, anything, it was going to be done, like, no half-hearted.
Okay.
That was his biggest quote, nothing half-hearted. And got to like 13, he was like, right, you got to make a decision, football or boxing. At the time, it was football. So, yeah, it was like a crazy schedule, like, to be the best that I could be. But, yeah, I'm grateful for that, and ended up playing at Stevenage, and that's where I met a really influential coach in my career called Colin Reid. Even though he was a football coach, just the way that he broke things down, the way that he approached it, the way that he explained things and dissected things, I took a hell of a lot from that.
Is that where your analytical brain comes from, do you think?
Partly, yeah, partly as well, because I wasn't the best football player. Like, there was football players that were better than me that didn't make it, and players that were worse than me that did make it. So I was middle of the road, but I was so desperate to be the best that I could be. You know, I was constantly watching games, and like, I might watch a full game and watch one player and think, you know, where is he when the ball's in this area of the field, or when the ball's there, or what decisions does he make off the ball, as well as just watching what happens on the ball, when I was quite young. So I suppose I just sort of started to take that across into boxing.
Well, that's a major part of now what you do. Obviously, you work on the mental side of athletes and all that, but when you're breaking down a fight, preparing somebody for competition, tape watching, analysing athletes is a huge thing. So it started when you were 13, 14 years of age in the world of football.
Yeah, pretty much. Just obviously it's a different sport, so you're looking at different things, but just, I suppose, looking at things. I always remember Vladimir Klitschko as well, reading an interview. I was quite young at the time. I read an interview about Vladimir Klitschko, and he was like, I might watch round one 40 times or 50 times in a training camp, and almost visualise myself what I would do in round one against that opponent. And I just ended up getting into that attitude of looking at, not. So I explain it to this like the guys. A lot of people are looking, but they're not watching. Are you actually watching what's happening? Like for example, some of the boxers, I say to them, if you was to ask me, or ask yourselves, just randomly stop one day, you're shadowboxing, stop, and ask me, what happened 20 seconds ago? I should be able to tell you what happened 20 seconds ago, but how many people can do that? So if you're watching a fight, what happened 20 seconds ago? What happened 10 seconds ago? You're looking, but you're not actually watching. Are you processing and absorbing what's actually happening?
Downloading data.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Not a lot of people do that, do they? Because it's second nature and it's blasé, I suppose, with the way that they're...
Yeah, I think just in general, a lot of people sit and wait for an exciting moment. They're not looking at oh, I can see this happening down the line because this fighter's been doing this numerous times. Which,
so you're looking for natural habits, is what you're looking for?
Yeah, one thing we'll look out for is tendencies. One thing we'll look for is, but let's say I'm just watching two random fighters and I'm watching a fight. And just as an example, one fighter keeps dedicating a right hand to the body. Naturally, 2 or 3 rounds in, I'm thinking, he's constantly going with a right hand to the body. Probably going to switch it up top at some point. And fighter B is probably not going to expect a right hand to the body. Do you know what I mean? But you can only anticipate that happening if you're actually paying attention to, oh, he's been establishing that for a few rounds, you know? But a lot of people are just looking at, oh, did you see that right hand that landed on the chin? Yeah, but how did it eventually land?
Yeah. When did you make the transition then from football, from that time of watching to trying to become the best footballer?
So when I was playing football, like conditioning was wasn't one of my strongest parts. So I got forced almost down to a gym, and the guy's like, he was a ultra marathon runner, like a really, he was a serious athlete, and really, he was ex-military as well, like really pushed you hard. And but it was a boxing-based gym as well. And I'd carried on doing bits like while I was focused on football, and I went down and I had never mentioned anything about boxing and all the rest of it. And then he took me to do a boxing session. I think he was like, oh, caught him off guard, and then developed a good relationship. There was that mutual respect because how hard he pushed himself, he could see that I was able to take myself to those places in certain areas of training that he'd do with us. And he basically said to me, you know, if football doesn't work out, I'll offer you a job. And then he trained a number of other boxers. There was Billy Joe used to go down there. I knew Billy Joe from the amateur club, but Billy Joe used to train down there as well. Frank Bullioni, Ryan Pickard. Then quite a few other amateur boxers were coming as well, and I started helping them out with coaching. Started off just doing a bit of pads, and then in sparring it might be, you know, oh, you should try this, and it would work. And they'd be like, how did you know that would work? And I just sort of said, I couldn't articulate it at the time. I didn't know how I knew that. But just over time, obviously, you develop your craft, and I start to understand how I could see these things and learn how to articulate it.
So the transition into coaching was more of a gradual thing. It wasn't necessarily at 16 years of age when football calls time.
I actually went back to boxing.
You were competing, weren't you?
Yeah, started competing again, and then there was a fight with Billy Joe where he basically just messaged me and was like, I was helping out with a bit of training here and there, and then he just messaged me and was like, would you like to be part of my team, and blah, blah, blah. And at that point, I thought, I've got to make a decision here. And I was too used to him keep punching my head. And so I thought, yeah, go on. Nah.
You're still relatively young now, so how old were you at this point?
Probably about 19.
Jeez.
19, 20, something like that maybe.
So where was Billy Joe at that point? Was he WBO champion or not?
The first fight I'd done quite a bit of work with him for was Jared Fletcher when he won the Commonwealth title.
Right, okay, so just before.
Or he might have defended the Commonwealth title, actually. He defended it, he won it against Tony Hill. And then, yeah, just step by step, you know, it just grew naturally. And I started working with a lot of amateur boxers actually at the time. A lot of amateur boxers along the way. They were quite young that now are actually turning, or they've already turned pro now. So some of them have, some of them dropped off obviously. So yeah, time does fly.
How has your game then changed since then? And how have you developed as a coach? What things have you added to the arsenal in order to turn yourself into what you are now?
Loads, I think. Bringing Leigh Wiley on board's a big thing as well, because very similar mind.
Just explain who Leigh is, because I knew him pre-you and what he was doing, and I was fascinated by his content, and now obviously he's part of your team.
Yeah, so Lee's he's a coach. You know, people call him an analyst and think that he does all this data. He doesn't do any data, no stats, no nothing. The most we might do is say, you know, for example, we want you to jab more because it's going to set this up. And if it's not getting through, the most we might do is say, your jab numbers here was this, your jab numbers there was that. Like, it needs to be higher. We don't do no number crunching, no data, it's just watching film. And as the team started to grow, and also, like, I think it's okay as a coach to constantly be saying to the fighters, you're constantly critiquing the fighters, you need to be better, you need to focus on this, you need to look at yourself, you need to go home and improve yourself. But what about me? If I'm not improving, I'm the one that's supposed to be improving them. I need to constantly be improving as well. So, you know, it's good to have Leigh as well, because he can question my work. If he disagrees with something, he's going to say to me, and vice versa. So I think that's massive for me as well, because if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not on it, like, I haven't got the answer to the question that he's asking me. So I actually stumbled across Leigh through Twitter. I saw a tweet and I thought, oh, I really agree with that. And then,
which is rare on Twitter, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
And then there was another one, and I didn't know at the time, but like you, I had seen Leigh's channel, but I didn't know it was Leigh, and I hadn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. Because he used to break down fights, show patterns of fights, how they play out.
And used to simplify it for like a little
brilliant.
video on, really, really quality content. He's actually just took his channel down. But there was then a fighter that I was going to start working with that, in my opinion was quite different to most other people's opinion.
Okay.
And I actually asked Leigh, without saying anything, what's your thoughts? And his opinion come back as similar to mine, which was very different to almost everybody. And I thought, right, like we're
You're my guy.
Yeah, we're sort of on the same level, same channel. And then there was a certain fight, and Leigh helped out for it. And I basically said to him, you know, if the fight goes well, and I'll take you on full time, and it did.
It does, and it's growing, and obviously a lot of fighters are now benefiting from that relationship that you two now have. As you look, still a relatively young man, still plenty more to achieve in the game.
Yeah.
What would you say your biggest achievement is so far in the professional game? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a title, it could be working with an individual that maybe achieved something that others maybe didn't think could have achieved.
Yeah, probably Leigh Wood in that.
You knew where I was going with that. You knew where I was going.
Leigh,
Okay.
Yeah. Probably Leigh. But everyone, if I'm honest, like Tyson Fury when he boxed Deontay Wilder, a lot of people thought he was going to get splattered. A lot of people would have thought, yeah, but Tyson could box. But if you went off of the Seferi and Pianetta fights, you would have gone, based on them, he's not going to get through this fight against Deontay Wilder at that moment in time. And to him, like, it was so important for him that people didn't think that the Vladimir Klitschko thing was just like, I just got lucky. Klitschko had an off night. And so if he lost that fight, that would have been what people would say. So that meant so much to him. And then AJ, really important for him to put on a performance against Wallin and finish 2023 with a performance like he did. That meant so much to him. And then like Leigh Wood, if I had a conversation with Leigh Wood, I reckon he would tell me that winning the British title fight was more of a satisfaction to him than actually winning the world title, because that meant so much to him. And I think there was so much. So I think what happened was he looked at the British title and thought, that's something I can achieve. I do believe I can achieve that. It's a tough ask, but I do believe I can achieve that. But it looks like he possibly wasn't going to achieve that. So I think achieving that was like a massive weight off his shoulders. And I remember getting emotional leaving that fight, thinking, oh, I'm so grateful I managed to help him achieve that.
You've just mentioned 3 lads in particular there. The gym's even fuller. There's some other characters in this gym too. But the common trait that I take from the 3 lads that you just mentioned, Tyson, AJ and Leigh, guys where there's doubt in and around them when they come to you, for example. And I could probably even chuck in like a Lee McGregor in that type of conversation too. Not necessarily the McCormack boys, but maybe different types of conversations about them. Do you like that? Do you like taking on fellas that maybe other people are saying, oh, I don't know if they can do X, Y, and Z anymore?
Do you know what? At the start of that question you said there, what popped into my head was, yeah, you're right, like I didn't mention Josh Taylor winning undisputed, Devin Haney winning undisputed, but I think that was a bonus, like, you know, to them. It wasn't like, oh, there's a lot riding on this, you know? It does bring pressure, but I do sort of thrive off of that, you know? And I do find, you know, when people say about getting up for fights, like when the fight is under pressure, or it's like or you're the underdog, or the expectations, like, you know, it means that extra little bit more. You'll put those. We do put a hell of a lot of hours in, no matter what, even if it's a 6-round contest or a 4-round contest. But you put that extra little bit in, you get that extra little bit of motivation. And I'm quite soft-hearted. Even if sparring partners are getting back, I can't help but try and give them a little bit of advice. I think, you know, I want to see people do well.
Just one on Tyson, right? Because obviously you've spoken about it many times, and it's well documented. Obviously where he's at now is sensational, but where he was when you guys came together. Then conversations. He's a big lad. He's out the game. And I know that a lot of it was just about sorting your life out to an extent, not necessarily fighting. When the conversation then comes about, yeah, we're going to go and win a world title again, what is that conversation genuinely like? Because the rest of the world are like going, bloody hell, I don't know, man. I don't know if you can do it from that particular point. What's it like in the nucleus of it? Because outside, it doesn't really matter what everybody else is saying. What's it like in here, blocking out all that noise?
In terms of taking on Wilder in the first fight, do you mean?
Yeah. Making that comeback, and then when that call comes in.
So the comeback was planned to be a gradual thing, which was the right thing to do. And then the Deontay Wilder thing come about, and I'll be honest, I had the conversation where I was like, look, I'm not saying that you can't win the fight, but you're definitely narrowing the bridge. Like, you're making that a lot more of a competitive fight by taking that fight right now than you would do if you'd done it a little bit down the line. But he was confident, and he, seemed to be rightly so. And if I'm honest, I think that taking that fight, not that that was part of the plan, but I think taking that fight at that moment in time done him a huge favour, not in the sense of him becoming a star, but personally, intrinsically, I think that gave him something to focus on.
How has that Wilder fight affected your career? Because let's be honest, you won it, right?
Yeah.
But it comes back a draw. Mm-hmm. How's that affected your career, do you think?
Ups and downs, I think, because it's an area for an argument. Say, see, he had a draw and then Tyson beat Wilder, do you know what I mean? Then some people say, yeah, but look where he was before going into it. So ups and downs from a perspective from the outside. Inwards, obviously, I think I took a lot from it. Massive experience. The whole experience of the 12-round fight, I think sometimes as well, the whole thing to be like, I let that fight go on, even when he got up and then he got hit again, Wilder landed another right hand, letting that fight carry on. I think he learned a lot. When he got up, however long was left, I think he learned a hell of a lot in that short period of time, going back into a rematch. Not to say that was why he won, I'm not saying that. But I think he learned a hell of a lot about himself, about Wilder, about approach.
When you look at it now, that moment, because I'm going to talk about the Leigh Wood moment in a moment, okay? Would you have waved it? The guy that's sat in front of me now, would you have waved it?
Nah.
You'd have let him go?
And that's what I was about to say. I think that's just such spur of the moment. It's just how you see it in that moment, perspective. You're not sitting there thinking, let me run for 1,000,001 different. Don't get me wrong. I've gone into fights, and this is part of preparation as a coach. Fighters have to prepare, but part of preparation as a coach is, I'm going in against a massive puncher. There's a chance that this might happen. In that scenario, what would I do? In that scenario, what would I do? That amount of times left, he gets dropped by this shot. What adjustment are we probably going to need to make? So you do think about things, but that then helps you make a better decision when it does happen on the night,
Regarding the Leigh one then, against Lara, hindsight's a wonderful thing, because as we sit here right now, 100% the right thing to do. In the moment, it's the right thing to do. You call it. In the aftermath, you get criticised for that action.
Shock.
What's the conversation, first and foremost, like with Leigh? And then, secondly, did you ever doubt yourself? Did you ever doubt the decision that you made?
If I'm being honest, no, I didn't. And whether that sounds cocky or arrogant or anything like that, I didn't at all. Not for 1 second. I 100% at the time felt like I made the right decision. And even my own corner said to me at that exact instant moment when the towel went in, I was like, oh, a bit soon. And then afterwards, I was like, actually, that was bang on. At the very, very start, actually, I remember straight after that, I was like, 10 seconds, could he have? Maybe for 5 minutes. And after that, I was like, nah, do you know what? It was the right decision. And then the conversation with Leigh was basically, totally understand if you feel like you could have got through that, I'm not saying that you 100% wouldn't have. I'm not saying that you 100% would have. What I'm saying is I had to make a decision in that moment, and I made that decision. But if you feel like, I'm not telling you I was 100% right, and you're wrong if you feel like you could have. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I had to make that decision. And Leigh was like, if that's how you felt, I feel like you make the right decisions, and I trust your judgment. So.
Is then him getting his title back in the manner that he goes and get his title back one of the most satisfactory things that you've ever done in your career?
Yeah, for sure. You got given that sombrero, we popped it up in the gym, daily motivation, daily reminder. And again,
Because that takes some serious mental fortitude from his point of view to be able to go and do what he did.
100%. And not only that, to them what happened on the scales, coming in 4 pound over, he's a weight class above, this is dangerous, you can't let him fight.
Absolutely.
The reality is, being honest, I knew that when they got in the ring, he was going to be bigger. I knew that for a fact. So the 4 pound thing didn't bother me at all, but I thought, there is still a chance, the guy's a dangerous puncher, there is still a chance that shot lands again. There's a chance of that. This is boxing. That could happen. I would have got slaughtered for letting him fire. But I was so confident, and Leigh wasn't fazed at all. Preparation had gone really well. We was just so confident, so we ended up going ahead with it.
What a performance,
yeah,
mate. What a
brilliant performance.
And he keeps rising. Fingers crossed that all these dreams come true in the not too distant future.
I'll tell you what the thing is with him. I've never had this conversation with him, but
What are the keys to victory for both of these guys?
I think he's the guy that does it and then says it.
Yeah.
And I think we just don't know that he's already done it.
Do you think that we will see, if Tyson comes through and Anthony comes through, the fight that every British fight fan wants to see?
Can I give you the truth?
Obviously, a lot of people talking to you at the moment about AJ, because you've got another elite heavyweight to choose to now and take to the next level. And the performance that we saw in December was, without any shadow of a doubt, the best performance that he's put in for some time. What's it like working with him? Because we're talking about now a well-rounded, 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world, looking to hopefully become a 3-time heavyweight world champion. What's the initial conversations like, and what's it like when that person comes into the gym that's cracked the game, that doesn't really need to be here if he doesn't really want to be here, but obviously wants to be here for the right reasons?
Yeah, I always knew he was a really hard worker. I think you can see that from miles away, you know. Desperate for information, the right information, obviously. And achieved phenomenal amounts. But I think I never really knew. I thought it was hard to judge his character. Not in
Outside,
the sense
before
of
you...
has he got character?
Okay.
I think you can see that. You know, we just spoke about it with Leigh Wood. He went and done it with Ruiz. Like, that shows serious character. I think, but I mean, in a sense, I couldn't work out what type of person he is. You know. And then when he come in, you know, I'd heard things from other people saying, oh, he doesn't like to work hard, or he doesn't this, and I was thinking, well, I need to try and hold him back a little bit. But I thought he was a big old boy to try and hold back. But no, he's an absolute pleasure to work with. Like a proper professional, true professional. Shows interest in everybody else, you know. I'll tell you what the thing is with him. I've never had this conversation with him, but it must be really hard, because when somebody meets him, it's a big deal. But he meets somebody every single day. Like your average Joe, your average Joe, do you know what I mean? He treats them the same as they treat him, like it's a big deal, you know? Gives them time, talks to them, really gives them the time of day off camera. And that, I think that says a hell of a lot. In terms of in a professional manner, he's such a professional, absolute pleasure to work with. Really, really, really enjoyable. And an absolute grafter. Like, I have to try and say to him, like, slow down, like, you can't do everything, you know? And that was probably one of the most challenging things at the start, but we had a conversation and he almost just sort of went, right, okay, like, I trust you. If you say that, then I trust that. He'll ask, like, oh, do you mind if I like to do this? Like, do you mind if I do that? And I'll say, yeah, but there might be a time and a place where I might say, I think not today, because so far, you know, your volume today's been all of this. Maybe it'd be better to do that on this day. And he'll go, okay. And, you know, coachable, very coachable, very, very coachable.
He said publicly the best thing about obviously working with yourself is that you're not trying to change him. You're obviously trying to add things, as you were talking about before. It's always good to learn, always good to get better. So when he comes in, you have a look, you start a little bit of work. What's the thing that you want to add?
I would say it's less adding, more understanding.
Okay.
So he's already got this massive toolbox. with all these tools in them. And it's more a case of, you know this tool, did you know that it can be used for this as well? You've got this tool, did you know it could be used for this as well? Did you know you can use this tool with this tool in this way, type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I always say to him, like, I find it, I don't like the whole, they've rejuvenated AJ. Me and Leigh, we don't like that, because it's not the case at all. All we've done is help him understand his own tools and really help him select the right tools for that job, you know?
Before working with him, watching him, did you as a coach, were you frustrated watching him? Because you knew that he had those tools.
So earlier on, we discussed about helping people when they struggle and they're like, their backs against the wall almost type of thing. I remember post Usyk 2 press conference, I was like, I felt emotional for him, do you know what I mean? And I could just see he's desperate, like, he just wanted the answers, you know? And I felt like we could give them to him, if I'm being honest. And, but again, like, we've not all of a sudden rejuvenated him. Do you know what I mean? He already was a diamond. He's a two-time heavyweight, unified heavyweight champion of the world. We've just simply helped him select the right tools for the right job at hand, and helped him understand how to use those tools a little bit more.
Do you want him to have another one with Usyk?
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. Just because that always sits in my mind. I didn't know him at the time. I don't know why. I don't know why it sits in my mind. I didn't even know him at the time. Do you know what I mean? But that sits in my mind, that post-fight press conference, and I think, like, I'd love to put that right for him. Not, that's the wrong way of putting it. I wouldn't love to put that right for him. I'd love to help him put that right.
Yeah. Do you think that opportunity will come?
I don't know.
I hope he does get that opportunity, because it's one of those that seems to hang over him with the boxing public, and this rejuvenation, call it whatever you want to call it as got a lot of people excited about what is possible, obviously, now with Anthony going forward. And we know that obviously he's going to be taking on Francis Ngannou. You're obviously in that corner. Building for what we would class as a non-boxer, a person coming from the world of MMA into the world of boxing, who's done extremely well in the one fight against Tyson. What do you make of pitting a game plan for that? Because that must be a fresh challenge too.
Yeah, he's a fighter. He's a fighter. All this, like, he's a novice. He's a novice what? He's a novice boxer, but he's a fighter. He's had plenty of fights, and he has had a boxing contest, funny enough, at the highest level. So, yeah, like, it's a serious threat. We're treating this like a serious threat. We're not treating him like, oh, it's Ngannou type thing. Like, we're treating this like this is Ngannou. Like, we need to be on it. So, yeah, like, it's a serious fight. It's a serious fight for... At the end of the day, it's a fight, right? Mm-hmm. They've got gloves on, but it's a fight. It's two big guys that's having a fight. There isn't many more men, or you couldn't pick a man, physicality-wise, or two guys. You couldn't pick two guys to be like, I hope it's not him in the playground or in the bar. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I hope it's not them two. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's as well as the fact that he's actually a skilled, trained fighter, now boxer, who's boxed at the highest level. He has boxed at the highest level. Mm-hmm. However many times he's done that, like, there's lots of fighters that don't have gradual step-ups. They box a lot of mediocre guys that probably could be beaten by a lot of boxers. Mm-hmm. Then they have a step-up fight, and it's like they've proven themselves at world level. But Ngannou hasn't, because that's what he's done. Mm-hmm. He's had fights that he won the heavyweight championship of the world in, mm-hmm. where they're allowed to do a little bit more than just punch. Mm-hmm. He's then had a step-up boxing at world level. How can you not class him as world level? When a lot of people consider that a close fight, a draw.
That's fair.
You know, some say he won, some say he won. Like, it's, you know, you've got to consider him as world level. Well, we certainly are anyway.
Tyson against Usyk. I know that you'll be watching that as a fan and absolutely salivated over it. First and foremost, what does it mean for boxing fans to actually get, finally, an undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, 24 and a bit years since our last one.
Yeah, it's massive. It's an unbelievable fight. And they're so, in terms of character, they're so opposites, but also the same.
I think so too, yeah.
I'm intrigued, I'm intrigued to see, even fight week, what both fighters have got to say and whether that will show us anything about how each fighter might approach the fight. Intriguing matchup.
Do you think the close matchup with Francis will reinvigorate Tyson's mindset for this one? Or do you think he would have always been, nah, I know that Usyk's the real deal, I'm getting switched on?
I think a bit of both. I think he's always had that, right, that's a fight that I need to be prepared for. But I think, as he's done numerous times in his career, a little lackadaisy performance has forced him to go back to the drawing board and level up. And I'm sure that would have been the case again this time.
What are the keys to victory for both of these guys, as you look at it?
A lot of people say Tyson's size, but it's him being able to impose his size. I think if he goes about the fight the wrong way, it'd be hard for him to actually impose his size. For Usyk, I think people's got this misconception of Usyk that he's like this back foot run around the ring. He's very aggressive, very aggressive. The clinch is an interesting situation because Usyk's very good technically in the clinch, but there is such a size difference. So I'm intrigued to see how that plays out as well. Tyson's actually good in the clinch as well. Usyk's probably technically a bit better in the clinch, but Tyson's a lot bigger. So it'd be interesting to see. It'd also be interesting to see how the referee allows that to play out. Will the referee allow the clinch to play out? So there's lots of intriguing factors, And again, someone like Tyson is so versatile, not quite sure how he's going to approach the fight.
Looking forward to it nonetheless.
Massively.
Popcorn out should be a cracker. Now, you know what's going to happen. If Anthony is successful, and I think every British fight fan hopes that he is against Francis, he comes through that, and Tyson's successful against Alexander Usyk, we've seen Turkey Al-Sheikh, we've seen him say that that's an eliminator and these two guys are going to get put together. Do you believe him? Do you think that we will see, if Tyson comes through and Anthony comes through, the fight that every British fight fan wants to see actually get made happen?
Can I give you the truth?
That's what you're here for, mate, to give me the truth.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
One thing I will say is I do know if there's one person to do it, I think it would be Turkey Al-Sheikh, His Excellency. But I don't know.
He talks an unbelievable game, and he seems to be following through with everything that he's saying.
And that's it. That's exactly what it is. He is delivering. I think he's more like. I actually think he's more like. I know sometimes, like for example, this match from Queensbury thing. It's almost like he says the idea, then does it. I think he's the guy that does it and then says it.
Yeah.
And I think we just don't know that he's already done it. I think he's already.
Right.
I've got that one parked up.
Yeah.
I want to do this. There it is. Unless he just forces everyone to do it in 24 hours. But, I really don't know, The guys are at a point in their career where, I don't know. I really don't know. Tyson's unpredictable, isn't he? We all know that. There's this thing with a possible Usyk rematch. There's this thing with a possible...
Ngannou rematch, even?
Ngannou rematch.
Yeah.
It's the fight that everybody wants to see. It has been for, I don't know, maybe...
Best part of 5 years now, isn't it?
Probably more. Probably more. In 2024. Probably...
Bit longer, yeah.
2016, 2017? Something like that. 2017, 2018. So, let's see.
Okay.
Let's see.
I won't ask you on a working capacity, but if they do make it, will you be there?
I think we'll all hope to be there. What a massive fight. So.
All right, we'll find out about the working capacity thing at a later time. To finish off, I want you to, and you can think historically with this, you can use your own fighters, you can use people that are not your fighters. I want you to try and build the perfect fighter, whether we're talking ring IQ, we're talking aggression, defense, footwork, whatever, man. So when you think about ring IQ, of all the great fighters that there ever been, who's the one that...
Floyd.
Is it?
Yeah, Floyd for me, personally. Floyd for me.
Okay. Whose power would you take?
Whose power? It's hard, isn't it? 'Cause if you used to talk about single shot, you could probably say Deontay Wilder.
Okay.
But then people might say, yeah, but is there much else variety like?
I'm only asking you for power though. You want Deontay's power with Floyd's ring IQ? We're building a nice.
Pretty good.
We're building a solid fight here, mate. so obviously Money Mayweather's defence was.
What I meant with the power thing was Wilder's got a powerful right hand,
Yeah.
but there isn't much. You know, you don't
You
really.
only need
see
a right hand though. You only need a right hand
Okay,
if you've
we'll
got your ring
take-
IQ though, mate. Right? So defensively, Floyd Money was brilliant.
Yeah.
Is he your defence, or would you go down maybe a Pernell route? Where would you go? Where would you go for defence?
I'll take Floyd.
Again,
I'll take Floyd again. Yeah.
he was pretty good in
He was
that
good, but do you
transition.
know what it was as well? He very good. He could defend in various ways. He wasn't like. He could glove up. He could obviously go behind the shoulder roll. He could defend using his feet. Like defense as well. Is it just defending punches or is it controlling when the opponent punches? That's Floyd. So yeah, I'll probably go with Floyd again.
Who's the best counter puncher you've seen?
Oh, Brigandale's up there, is he? Probably.
Mate, you're building some fighter here, mate.
I've got Riggindale there on the counters.
Okay. Best feet?
Oh. Come back to that one.
Okay. Heart?
Heart.
Yeah.
Leigh Wood.
I knew that was going to be Leigh Wood. He's a dog, isn't he? Let's be honest. He's going to take something special to get him out of there. He ain't going anywhere. Okay. We'll finish on feet then. Come on. Who's the best
feet.
dancer? Who's got the prettiest feet out there? There's some good ones.
Yeah, so I'm in my mind at the minute. I'm thinking, are you wanting who's got flashy footwork, or are you going someone who's got efficient, ready?
I'm thinking someone that understands the
You called
geography.
him. I'm going to go Pernell.
Pernell's got good ones. I was thinking in my head then. I was thinking Lomachenko. I think the way that the angles that he can create just off footwork are just
Lomachenko
sensational.
struggles getting pushed back with his feet.
Okay, so you're not
I
happy.
just gave away. If you want to beat him, let me know. But
George
I'm joking.
Cambosos, push him back if you want to win that fight. There you go. So Pernell, you're going Pernell's feet.
I probably would go Floyd if I'm honest.
Yeah,
I'll probably go Floyd.
he's a master of distance, isn't he?
Just in the sense of knowing when to settle his feet now.
So basically,
yeah, Floyd, you're the man.
yeah. So
Leigh Wood.
Floyd with Leigh Wood's heart and Deontay Wilder's power. We're rocking and rolling there, mate, aren't we? We've got
I
a
don't
hell
think
of a
we've
fight.
done too bad there, have we?
No, we've got a hell of a fighter. My man, thank you so much.
No problem, thank you.
There you go.
Joe Lewis, footwork, Joe Lewis.
He's good. Do you want anybody on a jab?
Uh,
Larry Holmes, do you want to chuck that in there? Go on, we're building some fight here, mate.
with a jab, I'm going to go Floyd.
Listen,
Floyd's, I know earlier we said we don't number crunch, or we don't, but I did read that Floyd's CompuBox was like 25, plus 25 or something. It's just like land 25 to get hit once. I think no one's ever even come close to that. So, yeah, I don't think you can go too far
That's
wrong.
why he's so pretty, mate.
Yeah.
That's why he's so pretty. There you go. I'm sure you've enjoyed that, Ben Davison, on this edition of Full Circle. Make sure you check out the website for further episodes coming shortly.